Okay, I think that is us now live. So hopefully everyone else is now joining the background. Apologies for being a couple of minutes late, having a few technical difficulties on my side. So for those who are new here, welcome. So we hold these webinars for our coached athletes. So on the screen here today, we've got a selection of the coaching team from HP3. But I've opened this up to the wider audience ahead of Ultra Trail Snowdonia to hopefully disseminate some of the tips and advice that we can offer. So first of all, we're going to be talking through the different routes that are available. Obviously, you guys are all going to be signed up, you know what you're targeting, and we'll talk through the different demands that each of these present. So obviously, the team here have got a wealth of experience at racing, both at UTS and obviously more widely. But at UTS, we've got people like Howard, who raced the 100 miler last year, down to myself, the 100K, Lewis again racing the 100K this year. Jessica's got loads of experience of this race. Again, was on the 100-mile route, although sadly DNF'd with an injury last year. My connection seems to go on red, so I'm not sure if I'm dropping out again. If I
can still hear you fine,
we can all hear you.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether I've dropped out.
You can hear us.
I seem to have possibly frozen. If so, then Jessica, can you take over with the first round of questions?
Yes, so to start off with...
Howard's coming in and out there. I think I've just lost my connection.
Big delay as well.
We can hear you, Tim, just so you're aware.
Oh, I've had a text message from one of the team, Will, saying you can hear us. I just can't hear any of you guys. So first of all, I'm gonna hand it over to talk about the particular demands that UTS throws up in terms of the technicality, the terrain. So Jessica, do you want to just talk us through what's special about UTS and what people could expect in terms of the terrain and the demands? So if anybody's dialing in from this who's not familiar with Snowdonia, what makes this one special?
You're in for a world of the most incredible terrain that you'll probably ever come across. It's unlike your general alpine or the moorlands or the highlands. It's this beautiful connection of technical slate rock with 360 views combined with these lovely forest trails, but also these grassy, boggy sections. And there's very few races out there that can combine all of these elements in one. And North Wales or Erie is the people there are really, really proud and really friendly. And so when you're in the communities, that also makes it such a beautiful race, as well as the volunteers. But the terrain itself is just unlike anything that I grew up in Canada and in the Rockies, and I've spent so much time in the lakes and in the French and Swiss Alps. But I always find myself coming back to Wales to run.
Well put.
Wow, Tim really has frozen out, hasn't he? That was always just really enjoying your poetic description of the landscape there, Jessica. But
yeah.
Tim, can you hear us, or are you still out of action? Still out of action, I assume.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anybody else have anything about the terrain?
Yeah,
it's got it all, hasn't it?
Go on, Howard. You go.
That's it. It's got it all, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, and I think as well, like each route now is quite different. We won't go into the route changes too much, but the routes are now quite different. And I think on the 100 miler, you get absolutely everything, don't you? On the 100K, you now get everything, I would say, because previously it was just all, I would say it was all kind of rugged mountain terrain, whereas now it's a bit of that plus a bit of fell plus a bit of like gravel track and bog and everything in between. And then I don't know much about the 80K, to be honest with you, but I think that's pretty varied. And then the 50K is really mountainous. So Each
The
route has its.
UK is quite nice. The starting kind of coastal path bits. I've run on that before, and that's quite nice.
Yeah, that's definitely the flattest of the routes, isn't it? But I think each route has so much variety in it. And if you think about the whole UTMB circuit, actually, I think these are like some of the most challenging races or routes out there in terms of that variety, but then also how technical it can get, particularly on 100-miler as well.
Yeah.
I certainly remember the other year some of the European elites being surprised how technical it was and rocky. You can see Tim's notes here, rocks, technical sections, bogs, certainly going to have those easier. Some easy trails in the valleys, some interesting running through the forest, especially if it's been felled, right? Anything else to add on the terrain, do we think?
Can I ask a question? And for someone who's not done it, if I was, going to do it for the first time, is there any particular sections that you would advise me to prepare the most for?
I would say running off Moshi board. I don't know
I
if
was about to
anybody's
say
done
the
that
exact same
descent.
thing.
It's gnarly, isn't it?
Which way though, Howard? Are you talking about the
boulder field for me coming down?
Yeah, in the 100-mile route last year. I'm assuming it's the same this year. It looks the same.
I see. Yeah, okay. So I'm
You
getting
come off the
confused.
back end of it.
Yeah. Because the 100k used to go back down the south, like grassy ridge down towards Snowdon, but now I think it's the same descent as the 100-miler. So I think it's all the same descent now, isn't it? But yeah.
Yeah. Have you done that, Lewis?
I haven't. I'm doing it on Saturday, so wish me luck. But,
You'll be fine.
It's a route I've done handfuls of times, and I still got caught out coming down it last year. So
it's disjointed, isn't it? It's
on the 100-miler, the other area I definitely recommend recceing is like the downhill off Glitterflower and the Devil's Stair. Is it Devil's Staircase that was called? I can't remember what it's called now.
Devil's Kitchen.
Really
Devil's Kitchen.
bit.
That's it. Yeah. It's proper scrambly, and there's even that little bit when you are properly in the Devil's Kitchen. I think even when the route's marked, it's quite hard to know where to go, and it can stress you out quite a bit because you're quite exposed, aren't you? So there's definitely an area that I think people should recce if they haven't been down that before.
And I would say with both of those areas, I mean, that's still quite at the start, so it'll be light. But for those coming down Mulchibot, especially in the dark, if you can do it with people, because historically sometimes it's really hard to see the course markers just because of how big. And so if you have a group of people just keeping an eye out for each other, that's a huge thing for that section, especially as it goes dark.
Just aware of the time here, but there's a question coming in the chat from Alain. I think maybe you've answered it. Noticeable difference between the overall terrain for 50k, 100k, and 100 miles, or are they all the same? I think you've kind of said they're a little bit more aligned now, if anything.
Yeah, I think a bit aligned. I think the 100-miler is certainly the most demanding in terms of terrain, I would say now, because it does go off that northern section around the Glitters, the Carnethai, all that kind of area up there is super technical. Which both the 100 and the 100k and 50k don't have now. But I think the 100k still has pockets of technical ground, particularly in the first half. And then I'd say it's, compared to the old route, it's way less technical than the old route, the 100-miler and the 50k. And then the 50k, for a 50k, is pretty technical, I would say. There's quite... It's non-stop in the 50k, isn't it? You're kind of up down the whole time. But
the 25k, it's that hard. It's 8k up, 8k down, and then it's very quick. It might not have as technical of terrain depending on your experience in comparison to the rest of the routes, but just because it's shorter doesn't mean it's easier. It's a very tough, hard, quick course for some people, but it's a true testament. So don't take the 25k with a grain of salt.
But I think maybe just to segue onto the next topic I wanted to cover was sort of the environment and then onto kit. And I think just to segue onto those two things, one thing that makes it really difficult, any of the distances, is that variety. And that, in terms of the weather, you could be on super exposed mountainsides 1 minute, the next minute you could be in bog, the next minute you could be on a nice runnable gravel track, and couple that with the weather and how quickly that can change in Snowdonia. You've got so many variables you need to account for, and therefore so much kit. Then you need to get
There's
right.
a reason that the cold and hot weather kits are mandatory for kits now.
I was literally just about to say that's one to watch for this year because it's new, isn't it? So you have to have both just in case, and then obviously it may change at short notice. So just making sure you've got everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And trying to decide shoes on this race is a nightmare. I've been going back and forth on shoe choice for like weeks now. But yeah, well, I guess we'll come back to kit a little bit, but the environment is one that's and the kind of climate is one that's quite big. I know firsthand because the heat basically killed my race in 23 on the 100k. It wasn't even particularly that hot. It was like maybe low 20s. But I think
The
it's
exposure.
You're just you're not in.
Yeah, I remember that
all day. Like it's so exposed.
Yeah, until you get to the forest. There's really no cover unless you're on one side of the mountain or not.
Even then, and then you've the rocks are the kind of rocks that really radiate the heat back at you, and you're on these long climbs, and it's sweltering, isn't it? Like so it can be like that, and at the same time it can be sideways snow and hail in gusty winds. I don't know, has anyone experienced kind of pretty extreme conditions on the race before?
We've only had it hot, haven't we, for the last few years?
Yeah, one of the first years when I was out volunteering, it was quite wet and stormy, and either
Is that the year it got
side,
stopped, Jess?
Oh no,
Was that the year it got stopped?
Yes, yeah, I think that was the second year. Yeah. So and that weather kind of came out of nowhere as well. It wasn't supposed to be as intense as it was forecast to be. So that's the mountains for you.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw any of the people's photos from this weekend, but it was properly cold on the tops, and the wind chill was maybe minus 10, 13. Looked really unpleasant. I guess we won't get that on race day, but
never say never.
Yeah, you never know.
Still get a big difference between the tops, the high mountains, and the valleys, I guess, to deal with.
That's it. Yeah, and managing that is really difficult. I did see Charlie's asked a question in the chat. If route markers are hard to follow, can we rely on our Garmin course map for the GPX file? I think my experience is that the markers have always been quite good.
It's only on that Molshabod area that I've ever struggled with. So
when I was talking about the Devil's Staircase earlier, it's more that there's flags, but it's actually not clear where the trail is, even next to the flag, because it's just basically a boulder field you're climbing down. So it's just quite hard to know where to put your hands and feet. But generally, I think my experience has been the course marking has been pretty good. I don't know.
The team that course marks, and this is coming from my experience as well, because I normally course mark for the race, is
good job I said it's
you
good
have
then,
really
Jessica.
really dedicated people that are going through and making sure that flags are visible. If there's any obstacles that really should be avoided, we will mark around them as best as possible. So trust your guts, trust the flags, trust the GPS. Don't necessarily trust the person in front of you.
Yeah.
I guess it's fair to say you probably should always be able to see at least one flag from what I've seen on the course, right?
I'd say it's generally quite good.
Yeah. Like
Josh has said that it feels like we're due a bad weather year this time round, but I mean I would argue that the mid to high 20s are the bad years.
Yeah.
I take cold and wet any day.
It's a northern hemisphere problem, right? You're always training through the winter and you end up on race day. It's the first really hot day of the year.
Yeah, exactly that.
Shall we move on to kit? Mandatory kit, shoes, poles even. Got Gregg and Lewis down for their wisdom on that.
I guess the first one is what we've just touched on, is the new changes of what they're saying for this year for kit. So you need to have just hot and cold weather kit that they may change at short notice depending on the forecast. So just making sure you have everything on the kit list. They're all different depending on which race you're doing, so just making sure you have everything in advance. You know it works. You've tried it in all the various conditions, well, weather permitting, obviously, and making sure you're used to what you're using and deciding in advance what you're going to use, so you're not stressing on the day or the days leading up to it of the what shoe choice you're making. So like Lewis is saying, trying to decide, it's not always an easy decision. You may have to change it at last minute, obviously, if the weather is significantly different, but with the vast majority of the kit that you will be taking, you should have very limited choice as to the jacket you're going to wear, for example, or whatever. So just making sure you've tried it, it works.
Yeah, trust the kit you've trained with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think as well, like particularly on the longer routes, 100% make use of drop bags, crew if you have it, and just be prepared that you might need to change everything that you're wearing, shoes or clothes or whatever, because if you are out in the cold and wet for hours, then you want to get to dry kit. Likewise, you might be getting blisters on the day, so just having spare shoes in the bag or with crew spare kit just to change up is really good prep if you can do that. And then on shoes themselves, I don't know, I'm really leaning towards just comfort over anything else really, but you've also got to prepare for the fact that there are some really tricky sections, and your shoes are only as good as how they perform in those very tricky sections, right? So if you're gonna slip and fall on wet grassy areas because you're wearing basically hybrid shoes, then that's probably not the best idea. So basically you really want an all-rounder that's going to be able to deal with some of the trickier, more technical parts, but also give you comfort on the more runnable sections as well. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on shoes in particular, or any other specific kit you want to highlight.
It's the same for me. It's trusting the comfort, but knowing that you've tried it on all various terrains.
Top question come through. What would it be?
Sorry.
Now I'm locking up a little bit. Yes. What would you recommend to pack in the drop bag? Top tips. The thing that saved your race before in a drop bag.
Spare socks. Definitely spare socks.
Definitely spare socks. Definitely spare shoes.
Any very specific nutrition requirements that you may have that I always think if there's something in there, if you can't necessarily rely on stuff that you get at aid stations, if you know that the product that they have doesn't agree with your gut or whatever, having something that works for you in a drop bag is always very helpful. And
that goes for any race.
Yeah. If it's warm, salt tabs, things that you can rehydrate with and try and stop some cramp with. And I'm a Pringles guy, so there's always going to be a pot of Pringles in my drop bag. It's my essential nutrition.
Great.
Mini cheddars for me.
Mini
I
cheddars
think
or
I might be back in the room now after my technical.
Oh, look at that. There's Tim. Excellent.
Welcome back, Tim.
Teachers back, guys. Behave.
Apologies for that, and thanks for keeping it rolling, team. Jessica
we were
said stop.
just about onto stage 6, I think.
It's all good. I was going to say, even just a full change of clothes. I saw Josh made the comment that we're due a bad weather year, and I think we must be due a bad weather year. It's been too nice for too long, hasn't it? So if you get absolutely sopping wet, having a full change of clothes and even another change of waterproofs is not a bad shout.
Yeah.
So okay.
I realise, Tim, just before we move on, I realise there's a question we haven't answered yet, which is from Richard's the 100k. Where will the drop bag be? And I believe it's going to be at Creosaur. Definitely saying that wrong, but I think it's the village between Moe and Mauer and Knicht.
It's that little. There's no service there. Also, just as an FYI, so if you're waiting for people, there's crew. There's no crew, but that's also just for the 100 miles as well, because that's where the drop bag is. There's 0 cell service there.
Okay, fine. So it's literally just a drop bag. That's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Another tip on the drop bag is because obviously when you get to your drop bag at that stage, you're quite tired and your brain might not be working properly, is have a bit of paper, maybe even sort of in a poly pocket or even laminated, with a kind of list of what you're planning on doing at that drop bag. So, remember to plug in and charge your Garmin or your phone. Remember to change this, remember to pick this up, etc., so that you don't then leave that aid station and go, oh, I forgot to do that. If it's written down, you won't forget it.
Or there's less chance you'll forget it.
Less chance you'll forget it. Quite right. Okay. On the aid station points, I don't know if you guys have covered this whilst I was off air, or maybe sort of Ed, because obviously you worked the aid stations last year, and Jessica, I know you've done a lot of work on crewing at the aid stations. What do you see people do well in the aid stations, and what do you see people not do so well? So maybe Jessica first.
Yeah, as a runner, before I get to an aid station, I kind of make a stock check of everything I have on me, what fluids I have, what I've been taking in easy, and what I haven't touched from the previous one. And the things I haven't touched from the previous one, so if there's a drop bag, I will take that, put it away, and grab the next thing. Similarly, for going into the aid station, is if there's something that you really want, whether it's sweet or salty, go for that first, and a drink of water, just to satiate yourself. And if it's really hot or cold, don't distrust the fact that if it's cold, you might not feel thirsty, still drink. So going in and making sure that first rule of thumb is get something into you as you go in, get something into you as you leave, so you know you've had something. And then generally watching around is if people are having troubles with their feet, with their kit, if you've got chafing, if there's blisters, have the volunteers help you. If there's something in your bag, or if you want something from the table, have them bring it over so you can sort on the most major issue, or have them help you with that issue. Don't be afraid to ask for that help, and don't be afraid to, if someone asks you, to say yes. Those are the biggest things as a volunteer, but also as a runner, that I've noticed are the most successful things. And then don't be afraid to just take, if you have the time and you're not rushing, if you just need to take 5 minutes to reset yourself, or 10 minutes to reset yourself, do that, because it will make all of the difference when you go back out.
Yeah, Ed, what about you? What did you see people do well last year?
Yeah, it's funny, we made these notes independently probably. So the people who were fast and efficient at the aid stations, they came in, they were focused, they clearly had a plan, they knew what they wanted and what they needed. And as you say, they asked for and accepted help. They didn't just, stand in the corner or whatever. Not so good. And this is more probably the midfield. A few people, you're tired, you're spaced out, you're not taking action, you're not doing anything positive to move yourself on. That's comes down to having the plan, knowing your plan, and your motivation, right? Because checkpoints are a kind of make or break point for a lot of people. And a bit about the midfield chaos. It's like a scene from MASH sometimes, because there's runners everywhere. And I think if you've been out in the high mountains, right, running on your own, it's like sensory overload. It'd be like my least favorite place to be at that point. So don't get distracted by the chaos. Have that plan, as you said, Tim, like a checklist, even if it's in your head when you're coming into the checkpoint. As you said, Jessica, don't leave without dealing with the issues. Sometimes you leave a checkpoint because it's such a crazy place to be, and you think, I didn't change my socks, or I didn't deal with this issue. And like you said as well, find time and space to just assess and adapt. Find a chair, a corner, a space outside, get your head together and think about what's coming up.
And if you are in a really bad place and you're not sure what you need, you're not sure what you have, again, the volunteers are going to do everything they can to help you, to try and get you back out. They're going to say, just try a little bit of this, whether it's a broth, whether it's crackers, biscuits, Pringles, anything, a hot cup of tea with a lot of sugar, just to have that comfort and for you to get back to your senses. And again, we do these individually, but the entire community wants you to keep going. and they're going to do their very best to make sure that you get out there and that you're happy to keep going. And yeah, and if you need to sit down in a corner and have a little cry, do it. Sometimes it's the thing that gets you back out.
Absolutely. On that point, Amy, then, so I'll jump ahead here. As our resident sports psychologist, if you are coming into an aid station and you are having a bit of a bad time and getting a bit overloaded, what's maybe a tip that you would offer somebody to help deal with that situation?
Good question. I think linking back to what Jessica was saying, just allow yourself to feel shit and have that cry. But going back to what you were saying, Tim, having that plan in the kit bag or having something in your pocket to remind you. So we talk about this a lot, don't we? What are our whys? So constantly going back to our why. And also, I guess it's because it's a really hard question to be like, how do we stop feeling terrible and because we're not going to just feel great again, but it's just thinking about some little things that might make us feel good in the moment. So whether that's Pringles or Jessica, what was your choice of pick-me-up food?
So mini cheddars, if I can't get goldfish crackers that are a North
Yeah.
American thing, but peach iced tea as well.
Okay, yeah. And then things that like we've discussed, Tim, when you're doing big events, like you said to me, I'd probably be struggling at this point, so send me this type of message, I'll get it through on my watch. Or I know a lot of people will put like stickers on their gels from different get family members to kind of write them little kind of positive notes. But I also think that stepping back further from this is I think a lot of people get really upset when their goal maybe isn't attainable. So not being too rigid with what our goals are, and we know like from tons of research that's been done that flexible goals are way more successful than very specific narrow goals. So I know you guys will all talk with your athletes about plan A, B, and C, or even D, E, F, etc. So having that flexible mindset, I think, is super, super important.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I've got another rule, which is you can't DNF in an aid station.
Okay, yeah.
So if you do feel like you're going to DNF, all right, fine, but get up, walk out the aid station as if you're carrying on. If you get 50 meters up the road, 100 meters up the road, and it is like, no, this is over, fine, turn around and go back. But sometimes just getting yourself up and going again gets you to the next one, and then gets you to the next one.
Yeah.
And then you find you at the finish.
And that's, one of the other points I was going to make is around the chunking of the event. So that's why I asked the question earlier, like what are some of the hardest parts of the event? And also I was also going to ask the gang, like, what's some of the nicest parts of the event where, it's stunning. If the weather's great, there'll be good views, because being able to, like, when I'm working with an athlete, I always, we start broad. So you've got the whole route in front of you. What are the difficult points? Maybe what are some of the nicer sections? How can we break that up? What does nutrition look like on that event? Where might we be in a hole? Where might we think, wow, that's beautiful, and we can lift our head up and, take stock of the surroundings. So yeah, maybe if I could ask that question back to some of the people that have done it, where are some of the most beautiful sections for you, and where have you got the most kind of joy during the race?
I think Mulhabog is my favorite section of the 100-mile, coming up through the forest out of Bedgelter. And just getting up onto that ridge line is incredible, especially if you get there at sunset or just before, depending on your timings. But during the day, when you just get that little bit of lower sun, and you can feel the breeze coming in up there, and from that point you're like, yes, this is a good day, and in my personal opinion, you've made it through the absolute hardest parts of the race. But it's just, that's the one area where you can get pretty much every bit of terrain for the race in that short section between the aid stations.
Okay.
The whole course is pretty beautiful, but I think if you can time it between the sunrises and the sunsets, that just adds that extra element of beautifulness to the whole place, doesn't it? So, like, I think you said, was it Hebog that when you saw the sunset, did you say?
Yeah.
For me, I think it was coming up off of Connect, is that how you pronounce it? Sun was rising there and all the sky was just changing from that dull pink and then to orange and then to like a bluey orange and then the sun comes up and after going through the night and it being pitch black and you've not really been able to see anything and then to be able to see everything in all its glory with that ambience, it's amazing.
That's a great reward after coming down Kreuzer as well.
Yeah.
I think that's it. And knowing that dark, that 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, you just want to be asleep moving if you're on the 100 miler. But knowing that the dawn is coming is what will then drive you on, and then the day starts again. Or even, I think it's the same thing. For me, it was that sunset or the beginnings of sunset on Mole Eliol, which is the same idea. It's just the light coming down. You've got really big visibility. So yeah, getting up on the tops is always good fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can I ask as well the same kind of question you asked me, Tim, to the guys? Has anyone ever been in like an absolute pit of despair? I'm sure you all have. And what has kind of allowed you, or what enabled you to continue and carry on?
Probably shouldn't answer that because I didn't carry on.
But that was the right decision. It was a medical reason to not carry on. So we'll let you look at that one.
Yeah, maybe. For context, it was the really hot year, 2023. I was doing I was on the 100k. It's about 70k in, going up the second climb up Snowdon. Absolutely sweltering. I was so low on energy, so dehydrated. And then I passed 2 people being airlifted off the mountain with heat stroke. And I had a heavily pregnant wife down in the valley at the aid station. And I got to the top. I was very wobbly. And I just thought, nope, I'm not continuing this. But then I actually walked down to the aid station and had a bag of crisps and a bottle of water, handed my bib in, and then got in a car, and I thought, I feel all right. I could have carried on.
I did the same in Andorra.
So frustrating, but
sometimes that happens. It's better to be safe than sorry in those circumstances.
Yeah,
especially
it was
when
the right call in the moment for sure. But I think if in hindsight, what I should have done really is just taken a long break and just got some food and drink in, like Tim said, just get to the station and just sort myself out and then try and keep going. But I just made the decision so long before that it kind of was set in stone at that point. But so don't do that, kids.
But I've done the same thing.
Take that extra flask of water with you.
Exactly.
If it's really hot.
It was getting the rivers as well. I think John Alban did that last year on the 100k. He just, I think he literally sat in a river for like 5 minutes, and there's plenty of them. I should have done that at the bottom of Snowdon, but didn't.
It's a learning point, though, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
I found it's easy on some of these things, right? You get your head in a strange place. You're feeling bad, but you don't link the fact you're feeling bad with something physically wrong. I've had to sit down, as we said, take time to reflect, go, when did I last eat? I haven't eaten for the last hour. No wonder I feel rubbish. Okay, sit down, eat something, give it some time, get your head back together, and like I say, fix what you've done wrong, because these long events, you've got time to fix most things.
Yeah, and I've just seen Jimmy ask a question about people getting sleep on the 100 mile. And I haven't historically, I have seen people just have a quick 10-20 minute nap if they have the time, because again, even if it doesn't count as sleep, just letting your body kind of reset, again, take that 5-10 minutes if you have the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that can just wake you back up, give you a bit of respite from whatever you're feeling.
Yeah.
No, so we got a webinar on the YouTube channel with Chloe, who's our sleep expert, our sleep coach. She's currently in Australia, so timings didn't quite work out for her to join this call tonight. Her posh term is she's a chronobiologist, but yeah, she's basically our sleep coach. And it all depends on how long you're going to be out there for. So, if you're at the front of the pack for the 100 miler, then you're probably going to push on through without taking any sleep. But if you're middle to back of the pack, then taking a short power nap is probably going to get you to the finish line quicker than not having that quick power nap. But again, we can go. I will direct you more to having a look at that webinar because we go into things in a lot more detail. It was specifically talking about UTMB and sort of planning around sleep strategies for UTMB, but the same principles apply for UTS, possibly even more so because timings at UTS could potentially be longer than at UTMB. So yeah, I'll direct you to that webinar. I'll put links up later on as well. Just going to sort of keep us on our kind of list of topics that we wanted to cover, and Charlie for the downhills, yeah, we're going to come on to that one, but I was just going to move on to Howard and think about sort of race nutrition. So we talked about Pringles and mini cheddars and some of the offerings at the aid station. So it was going to be NARC products, particularly with UTMB. But yeah, Howard, what should people be thinking about in terms of their race nutrition when we're sort of 6 weeks-ish out from the race?
I think practice first and foremost. Make sure, especially for those longer runs, you're practicing your in-race nutrition, you're practicing your pre-race carb load, things like that. So in terms of pre-race timings, I would say you should start looking to do a 48-hour carb load. I don't think you really need to do it any longer than that, but try and aim for about 8 to 12 grams of carbs per kilogram body weight in those 2 days before. Probably one of the biggest nutritional issues you're likely to come across is gut issues, because, I mean, these races are as much as an eating contest as they are a running contest. So you're going to be out there for multiple hours consuming quite a lot of food. So in the days before, I would probably cut back on fiber, keep it simple, just white carbs, white rice, pasta, fruit juice, things like that. So easily digestible carbohydrates. And then on race morning, you want to try and get, again, a good carb meal in about 3 to 4 hours before. Depending on which guidelines you look at, it'll recommend anywhere between 1 and 4 grams per kilogram body mass. But personally, I think 4 grams is probably pushing it on race day. Nerves are probably going to be kicking in a lot. So I think a good compromise is 2 to 3 grams. And you're still probably, for most people, you're going to be looking at somewhere between 180 and 250, 260 grams of carbs there. If that is a challenge, if race nerves get the better of you, you could backload that and have slightly more carb-based supper the night before. So just to try and keep those glycogen stores up overnight, and then that reduces the amount you've got to eat on race morning. I think, what else? The biggest issues during the race is probably going to be taste fatigue, I think. For the vast majority of people, they're going to be out there 8 hours plus. So, again, have a plan in place. If you're at the front end of the field, then you can probably push your carb intake between 90, even up to 120 grams. But try to rotate through different types of foods, sweet, savoury, and neutral foods. So you don't get sweetness overload. It's easy to kind of just rely on gels and carb drinks and things like that, but eventually that's just going to probably overload the gut. So try to make sure you have a plan to have some savoury, so your Pringles, your pretzels, things like that. Some sandwiches, easily digestible sandwiches. I think the other thing is familiarize yourself with the route and use the terrain to your advantage when it comes to feeding. Try to front load your intake on the climbs, because pace is going to be slower. You're not going to be agitating the stomach as much. and you've got a greater opportunity to get your carbs in then. And then on flatter, faster sections or the downhills, where it's going to be harder to get as much carbs in, then you can back off a little bit. So trying to eat every 20, 30 minutes, obviously use that terrain to try to, as I say, increase your carbs on the ups. Again, don't rush through the aid stations. I think that's been kind of mentioned a few times already. Take your time to have a quick mental check of what you've had in the last couple of hours, what your plan is going forward out to that next aid station. Make sure you pick up whatever relevant snacks, drinks, foods, gels, whatever you need to take. Excuse me. And then just in terms of hydration, it's highly individual. Some people get on perfectly fine with 400 mils per hour. Other people can consume 750 mils per hour. So it's a case of trying that over the next couple of weeks, dialing that in. Again, everybody sweats different. So I would say as a starting point, sodium wise, try and aim for about 400 mils, but typically average sodium losses for most runners is about 900 milligrams per litre. So if you've not kind of addressed your sweat already, over the next 4 weeks, start at 400 milligrams, and if needed, just gradually increase that until you find what works for you. I think they're the main points, really. Again, for those low points, if you know where you're likely to be going through a bad patch, if you've got your drop bag or at the aid station, check what's available, have something that's going to give you that little bit of a pickup. Okay.
Yeah, I think the kind of hydration and the fluids is an important one, particularly if we do end up with another hot year, is knowing, what is your sweat rate. So it's important to test that now in these sort of final few weeks, and just knowing, how much do you lose per hour in terms of sweat rate. And a very simple thing is weigh yourself naked, do an hour of exercise or 2 hours of exercise, whatever it might be, weigh yourself again, how much have you lost? And it's not exact, but roughly speaking, for every kilogram you lose is 1 litre of fluid that you've sweated out. So you can get a rough idea with that. We're partnered up with Precision Fuel and Hydration, and on their website, they've got some calculators that you can use to work out what your average sweat rate is in different environments. And again, you can determine how much sodium you might be losing, which gives you an idea about what you might want to be taking on board to replace that.
I think if it is another hot year, then from a carb perspective, if it is really hot, then just back off from the carbs a little bit. It's not used as effectively in hot conditions, so maybe scale back on the carbs a couple of percent.
Yeah, absolutely. On the sort of nutrition timing point of view, so we've got a couple of different races. So there's the 80K, which starts at, I think, 7:30 at night. And then there's the 100 miler, which is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So how do we kind of then vary the size of those meals? Do we go for that sort of bigger breakfast, medium lunch, or what would you say for those different timings there?
Yeah, so which one did you say starts at 2 o'clock?
So there's the 100 miler at 2 o'clock.
Okay, so your big meal really should be your breakfast. Okay, and then you can top that off about an hour to 2 hours before with a lighter carb meal. For the other one, you can make your lunch your big focus, and then again an hour to 2 hours before starting, just top that off again. I wouldn't have anything within 45 minutes of starting, otherwise you could get rebound hyperglycemia, so feel sluggish in that first 20-30 minutes of the race. So if you do plan to have something just before, I'd save it till 5-10 minutes before the off and just have a gel or something like that.
So,
And with those timings, I always find that, especially right now where people are at the peak of their training, is to practice your race day breakfast meal before you go out for a run. So then you know what works for you in these couple of weeks leading up.
Yeah, I think that's something that's often overlooked. People practice their in-race nutrition, but don't really put too much time into practicing that race day breakfast or whatever it's going to be, whether it's the breakfast or the the lunchtime meal. And again, it's going to be a sizable amount of carbs for most people. So it does take a bit of practice. So again, pre-long runs, start getting into the habit of practicing that as well.
Don't be afraid of having breakfast for supper if that's what you felt like has worked for you in the past. Seen people have pizza before a nighttime race, but you've only ever had porridge or some bagels and things like that ahead of time. Can make a bit of an unexpected start.
Yeah. What about we're talking about obviously a lot of carbs and sort of focus on carbs, but with the much longer races, do we want to be thinking about fats and proteins in there, sort of real foods?
Thoughts on that? Well, I think irrespective of the distance, I would always put some real foods in there as well. Again, just to try and avoid that gut fatigue, that taste fatigue. In terms of proteins, yes, I would include some protein over the longer races to try and reduce that muscle breakdown, but I wouldn't go overboard. Every couple of hours, every 2, maybe 3 hours, have some protein. Fats, I probably wouldn't have too much fats because it's harder to digest. So you're probably risking it just sitting in the gut and increasing the chances of nausea and feeling a bit there. So, but yeah, for the longer races, I would include some protein. But again, my opinion is that the focus is performance. So that's what you should be looking at, and that's carbohydrates. Recovery, that can come a bit later on, but for the 100-miler, maybe the 100K, yes, I would include a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to try and time the real food around usual meal times. So if the time of day is usually breakfast time, lunchtime, dinner time, take on some real food around then, and then it's just carbs, simple gels, drink, whatever it might be. In
I find that's something to look forward to as well, as having those more normal food or meals or whatever you want to call them around that particular time of day. So at a particular aid station you might have whatever it is you really like to look forward to eating in that bit to look forward to. So yeah, I think that's a good point as well.
Yeah, and it could be something just simple like a cheese sandwich. Okay, you're still getting some carbs in, but you're getting some of the protein from the cheese, or a handful of nuts. Again, you're just getting some protein, but also you're getting a little bit of salt as well. So you're addressing a couple of things at the same time.
And that sort of fits into the race psychology strategy, isn't it? In having something to look forward to. And yeah, okay. I'm conscious of time, so sort of moving on to these final few weeks in terms of training sessions. So it's a bit late in the day to suddenly try and do anything different. So hopefully you've all got a plan that you're following. So obviously our athletes, you're working with us, you've got your plan pretty much through the race day by now. But anybody else who's listening into this, what are some of those kind of really important sessions that we're thinking about? And there was a question in the chat regarding, preparing for those downhills. I mean, that's a much longer term sort of planning project in terms of obviously getting in the hills and getting used to running downhill and doing specific downhill training sessions, as well as getting in the gym and doing your strength training. So we've got Morgan, who's our strength and conditioning coach on the team, not on the call tonight. But again, she would be doing a lot of work with our athletes and preparing them for that. Lewis, I'm going to turn to you because I know you love some of the sort of downhill sessions particularly, and in that sort of final build-up for the week, there's a couple of sessions that I've given you in the past which you've had a sort of love-hate relationship with, haven't you? What are you thinking about in terms of those last couple of weeks and preparing your legs for those longer downs?
There's a couple of things on this, I think. One is the actual strength and muscular endurance in your legs, and for that tends to have done a mixture of like kind of longer downhill efforts, not really being able to get the heart rate up, but thinking more about effort level downhill. So you really are kind of trashing the quads repeatedly, often in the middle or at the end of a longer run as well, just to add in that extra layer of fatigue. But then also doing kind of even shorter, harder, sort of almost sprints downhill. I've often done that on kind of sometimes on tarmac, just to again really kind of get that eccentric loading as high as possible. That's one side of it. The other side of it as well, I think, is just practicing the technical descents,
Doing the do.
foot placements, and just, you know, ensuring that when you are tired, when your legs are beaten up, that you've got that confidence to just be able to get yourself down a very tricky descent, you know, without going upside down, which I have done a couple of times. But yeah, I think that's the two sides of it, is really making sure that you're kind of preparing the legs muscularly, but then also preparing the mind almost, that you know you've got confidence in that sort of neuromuscular practice getting down, and the skills, exactly.
It's also that technique under fatigue as well, and building that in. So you mentioned there about doing some specific downhill sessions at the end of your long run, even just some short repeats, just to drill that.
You want to know what it's like to do it when you're already tired.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's different doing it when you're fresh versus, you know, however many hours into a race you might be. You're never really going to know what it's like to run hard downhill in a few hours versus at the end of a 100-miler until you've done it. But that's sort of thing you can kind of can't really fully.
And this feeds back into nutrition as well. So I'll kind of know, I've got a hard downhill coming up. I'll take my caffeine gel sort of 10, 15 minutes before that. So it's kicking in as I'm needing to concentrate on that downhill section.
Well, the
other thing is
flying down there.
The other thing on that is knowing that it's okay to deliberately pull yourself back a little bit and go a bit slower than you might want to if it is overly technical and you're not
controlled descents are better than fast descents.
It's nice to get that free speed on some of the less technical downhills, but knowing that it's okay to not be going at what you would think would be the speed you should be going at downhill when it's more technical. Particularly, I was saying, when it's late in the race and you're tired, you're not fatigued, you're looking at different things. It might be dark at that point. It's just allowing yourself to hold back a bit.
I think that nicely leads into my next sort of question regarding pacing and taking things maybe a little bit slower. So think about, obviously, for most of us, apart from the 80K, you know, we're leaving Clamberis and heading up the Clamberis path. And people are always kind of running hard up that first section. Howard, I think you paced the 100-mile so well, particularly the beginning section last year. Were you running up that road?
No, I ran a kilometre out of the gate on the flat tarmac.
Yeah.
And as soon as we hit that steep tarmac hill, I just got the poles out.
Yeah.
I looked behind me at one point and I could see the back runner. Like when I was halfway up the hill, I could see the back of the pack and I was a bit worried, thinking, am I missing a trick here or something? Because I'm currently on pace to beat the course record. And this is like going halfway up Snowdon Summit. And I just thought, no, just stick to your plan.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be pushing hard on any of the climbs in the 100-mile race anyway.
Absolutely.
You passed me on that climb doing a Sunday stroll.
I did. I totally forgot about it until you just mentioned it then. But yeah, I was looking over my shoulder and the back runner was about 50 meters away. And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, like either I am not applying myself here or everybody has just gone off way too quick. And I think, a lot of people just went off way too quick.
And what position did you finish?
17th, I think, in the end.
I thought it was 15th.
15th male, 17th overall.
Right, okay, fair enough. Yeah. So essentially top 20. And on that first part of the climb, you were looking at the back, the back marker.
Yeah, I was.
That tells you something, doesn't it?
Everyone gets, not everyone, but the majority of people get that wrong. And I think one thing that I've done more in recent years is nasal breathing at the start, and that forces you to hold yourself back. Like try running just breathing through your nose and see how hard you can go. Like you will not be able to run as fast as you can normally. I find that's a good way to force yourself to pace it a little bit better at the start of events.
I always find it's kind of similar, but it's like, oh, if I think I'm going slow enough, slow down just a bit more at the start.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
start there, it's you have such a long road section and it's wide. There's no need for bottleneck or anything like that. So you're not having to worry about sprinting ahead to get to a single track trail. It's a full road, and then it comes up to a 4x4 track. There is plenty of room. So
Yeah.
don't worry about the horde of people ahead of you first.
I would just like to extend this message onto the downhill as well, because the pig track.
Oh yes.
I was just going to say the same thing.
It's a tricky one, and I think in places it's also quite runnable. And I think like I made the mistake on the 100k of doing that. I got way too excited, went at it way too fast. Then on the later downhills, I was cursing myself for trashing my legs that early on in the race. I think you just need to stay really smooth and relaxed over Snowdonia. As best you can.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, try on them first few descents, try to imagine yourself and be thinking, will I be able to do this on them final descents? If the answer is no, then you're going too fast, really. I always try to think to myself, like, this pace now, could I imagine doing this on the last descent? And if the answer's, yeah, you're going too quick, then you just need to pull it back. It's really simple.
Yeah. I think, Amy, you had a really good sort of question to be asking yourself in a race when it comes to that sort of pacing, and that feeds into exactly what you just said there, Howard, of asking yourself that question, could I be going faster than this right now? And you were sort of saying that, if the answer's no, I couldn't be going faster than this, well, you're going way too fast, you've got to slow down. And if the answer is, yeah, I could maybe go a bit quicker than this, stay as you are. And obviously, if the answer is yes, I definitely could be going faster than this, well, okay, well, maybe try and up it a little bit. Yeah. But that's the kind of sweet spot you want to be sitting in, and that was one of Amy's that I really liked.
Thanks.
So I've just sort of
trust your training when it comes to pacing as well. It's a little bit different once you get out into the mountains, but you've done the work, so trust your training.
Yeah. Okay, so
Bye, Lewis.
Hello.
Who?
We lost Lewis.
Parenting duties.
And my other me seems to have rejoined the room.
He's always been there, I think.
Yeah,
it's always been there.
Was it? Oh, it's just not been on my screen. I'm just going to try and kick myself out. There we go. So the joys of technology, eh? Okay, so I think that covers that question there. And then, I was just going to think about the recovery sort of post-race as well. So everybody's thinking about, obviously, the event, all the focus is on the event itself. But people often then don't think about, well, what comes next? And having that plan in place for that recovery post-race. So, I mean, within the team, we've got a couple of training plans that are on the Training Peaks store if you really want, in terms of giving you that structure for post-race. But it's quite good to have a little bit of an idea of what am I going to be doing after the race to almost kind of taper back out again. And obviously, recoveries can be very, very different from one race to another. So you might have an idea of how you think you're going to be. And that can end up being different to what actually happens in the moment.
Because I think allowing yourself that flexibility afterwards is always the most important. Like some people will have races coming up a few weeks after, depending on what distance they're doing. Some might not have anything planned at all. And you don't know how your body's going to feel the day after, the week after, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. If it's 100 miles, it could be a month. And it's allowing yourself to rest longer or allow yourself more time to recover if you need it, or vice versa. If you've recovered faster than you might have planned, then yes, it is okay that you can start running sooner than you may have anticipated.
Your body will tell you. So
exactly.
Listen to your body. If you get out for a run and there's like these old guidelines where it's like, 1 day for every 10 miles that you've raced, stuff like that. But again, it's individual to yourself. So you could go out in a week start with little walks and just make sure that your body feels fine. And if you go out for a little 3-5K run and you just feel tired and sluggish, you need more time, and you just need to listen to your body and how you feel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Howard, you did a Bob Graham, not last week, the week before, but we're still only sort of 10 days or so post BG finishing, aren't we? And we had a plan for what you were going to be doing this last weekend just gone. And then at the end of last week, we realized, no, we need to change that. That's not quite right. And it's having that flexibility and being prepared to change it, isn't it?
Yeah, you just got to be adaptable and not be stubborn. And if your body's saying no, then you just need to listen to it and push it back a few more days and keep assessing.
But I think the important thing, though, is have some form of plan, even if that plan then changes.
Yeah.
Because it then stops you then just doing absolutely nothing at all. And then we run the risk of going to that sort of post-race blues. So for a lot of people, UTS has been this huge thing they're building up towards. But then what? So, Amy, from a sort of sports side point of view, what can people be doing to manage the risk of those post-race blues?
Yeah, like I've had them myself, so I think it's really difficult as well when you are in that fatigued state. You might be run down, you wanna be active, but your body's not allowing you to be. It sounds really silly, but almost try and give yourself an alternative hobby during that time, because you're not gonna be putting in the hours of exercise that you were before. I think one of the biggest things that people find difficult is you've gone from, a huge volume of training to maybe doing, it depends, it could be a fraction of that, and then you've lost almost your purpose of like everything you're doing is training for this event. And you've got way more time on your hands, so you've got more time to ruminate on that. So it's, following a plan, like Tim said, but also finding something else to focus on. So I'm a big psychology nerd, so I started doing a new course or learning about like different things, reading books, podcasts, just finding new ways to use my time. And another thing I would say is, so I work a lot with Ironman athletes, and I always say give it a good couple of weeks before you make any future decisions, because you're in that stage of like, all right, I've just finished, what next? Never make any big decisions about, well, I don't think any big races for at least for a few weeks, because I feel like you are in that buzz phase of like, I want to do another one, but give it a little bit of time to recover.
Equally, that idea of, oh, I'm never going to do this race again, and then a week later you've signed up for the next one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. The amount of people that say that, and then a week later they've entered it again.
Yeah.
I did that with the 100 miler UTS.
So did I.
Then never again, and I booked it again.
But equally with the psychology and the post-race blues and the running, your post-race nutrition is more, to me, actually more important than your pre-race nutrition. It's still very important, but you're in such a deficit and your body has done so much work that are a lot of the reasons for these fatigues and why you struggle to get back into running and back into activity is because you haven't fueled yourself into recovery. So I think that's big one.
Absolutely right. And that's probably a whole nother webinar. Maybe that's one that we do need to look at in terms of the post-race recovery. But yes, even that link between the gut and the brain in terms of that enteric nervous system, and really smashing your gut, loads and loads of carbs, destroy your microbiome, and then it messes up your head.
That's what I'm going through now, if I'm being honest. After the Bob, I mean, I'm quite a greedy person anyway, before the event has happened. So then when I'm in this recovery period after such a big thing, then, I was going to interrupt Amy when she was saying that, she started reading up on more psychology stuff. I just fridge raid. I just become a professional fridge raider. And Tim will have been reading my feedback this week, and it's just all about I'm overeating, I feel shit. And it really does affect the way you feel. That gut brain sort of like relationship. It's quite complex, isn't it? And the last couple of days, I've just really tidied up and stopped eating the ultra processed stuff. And within 48 hours, I'm already feeling like a brand new person. It's bizarre, really.
Yeah, I think that's a deeper project that we can then pick up on and go into more detail. But yeah, absolutely. But again, it's just having an idea of a plan of what comes after the race, so it doesn't just sort of completely stop. Right, I realise that with technical difficulties and so on and so forth, we've gone over the hour there, and I wasn't going to go over the hour, so I think we'll wrap it up there. If anybody is listening into this who's not a member of TeamHP3 currently, if you are needing some additional help and support for the race, maybe around your race nutrition strategy and your plans around that, then obviously we can set up a consultation with Howard. If you want to go through more sort of sports psychology strategies around, dealing with the hard moments in the race, you can always have a consultation with Amy. If you are looking at longer term coaching support, then again, we've got a range of endurance coaches on the team, or again, if you're needing maybe for the 100 miler a strategy for your sleep, then we've got Chloe, our sleep expert, or again, a more longer term planning in terms of the kind of strength and conditioning, and we can set you up with Morgan, our S&C coach. Have a explore the website. We've got a range of team available that can help support you with your endurance goals. So thank you very much for joining. I think we'll wrap it up tonight. If there's any other questions, you can leave them in the comment box below, and then we'll pick that up later on. And for those who weren't able to watch it live, I will make this recording available, and they'll probably go out on the YouTube channel. Okay, thanks very much for your time, guys.
Cheers, bye.
Maurice, thanks everyone, and good luck.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Yes.
guys. Bye. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.